Hello and thanks for joining the Wednesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I'm Ayodele Uzuwaku. Today on the program, Buhari breaks fast with National Assembly leaders, scores Saraki Dogara-led National Assembly low in performance. Emotions as activists, others celebrate Leah Sharibu's 16th birthday as Burate demands greater vigilance, change in tactics over killing of soldiers in Borno State. And later on the show, palm oil import from Malaysia rises to 57% in first quarter of 2019. I'll be hanging out with Babajide Kolade Otitoju, Ismail Ogmekpidon, and Sam Ibemere. So if you're ready, let the hangout start now. Thank you for joining us. Deciding to speak and choosing the occasion to deliver such speech are the most times tough calls to make. On Tuesday, President Muhammadu Buhari chose the breaking of fast he hosted at the presidential villa in Abuja for the National Assembly members, led by Senate President Bukola Saraki, to talk on some national issues. At the dinner, President Buhari reviewed the executive-legislative relationship of his administration and scored the lawmakers low in terms of performance. He said the country deserved more than it got from the Saraki Dogara-led National Assembly and hoped for a better relationship in the next dispensation. Babajide, the 8th Assembly, reviewing the 8th Assembly, I think it all started from the inauguration of that assembly on the 9th of June 2015, after the president was sworn in on the 29th of May 2015. Ever since the emergence of Abubakar Bukola Saraki and Yakubu Dogara at the expense of their party candidates, it was, you know, a very, very cat-and-mouse relationship sort of within the National Assembly and the executive. So looking at it, looking back, I saw Mr. President, I saw the photo ops, and the most unlikely people, they all sat down, they were all smiling, the acrimony, the party division. Even after the emergence of these leaders, they've all moved, Yakubu Dogara and Bukola Saraki have moved to the People's Democratic Party. So yesterday was a time to look at it and to review that what went wrong. And Mr. President actually said he desired a better night assembly. Jide.
Yes, certainly the divisions remain, the bad blood remains, no doubt about it. But the president saw an opportunity to let the lawmakers realize that he desires a better working relationship. It's a way of saying to the incoming lawmakers that what transpired in the last 4 years was not good enough, and that he would want to see a better relationship. The reason for the frosty relationship can't be linked, can't be blamed totally on the manner in which Saraki emerged. Saraki emerged against the wish of party leaders, but Saraki felt that from the first day, the president was doing his utmost to jail him, despite the fact that he contributed financially to his emergence.
To the emergence of Mr. President.
No doubt about it. He was one of the biggest mobilizers of money for the campaign. People, usually when things go wrong, people don't give you credit. That is our style. But history,
to Saraki's credit,
history has it recorded that he was one of the biggest mobilizers of funds for the Buhari campaign. And the president can't deny that. If he stands before me, I will say it to him, because I know what happened. But he felt that in spite of that, the president was bent on jailing him. So if you are in his position, you are not going to feel chummy with a person that you think has made up his mind to jail you. You recall the CCT trial and all that. So in his mind, he felt he was dealing with a president that was bent on jailing him. And then don't forget that the president also made it clear that some of the things that the National Assembly used to get away with during the Obasanjo era, Jonathan era, that he would not allow those things to happen. So from the beginning, Bukola Saraki and his colleagues felt that this was an unfriendly president, a president who would not cooperate with them. And when we compare the kind of relationship that Jonathan had with the National Assembly,
under David Mark,
the one cardinal fact remains that all of that time, the PDP had significant control. In some cases, more than 2/3. You know, so it's easy to achieve unanimity when the bulk of the members of the National Assembly are in your party. Obasanjo really didn't have issues with that. A few members, even from his own party, may quarrel with him, but he had a way with the National Assembly because of this, the overwhelming majority that the PDP had. Jonathan only began to have a little problem towards the end when people began to defect to the APC. You know, when those 5 governors defected and their supporters and other people too defected. That was towards the end. Yes, that was towards the end, you know. So you can see, and then after the primaries of December 2014. So generally, given the fact that the APC didn't enjoy that kind of, under Buhari, they didn't enjoy that kind of majority, you would expect that at least there would always be dissent and all that. But for me, I don't even think that what we need, because the president said your duty is to cooperate with the how did he even say? He said your principal task is to cooperate with the executive. You know?
So where lies the principle of separation of powers?
It has to be to cooperate. The goal has to be
for the
greater good. Remember when the customs boss just got up and said that they should be raiding our streets for cars, in some cases that were bought like 4 or 5 years ago. And the National Assembly said, no, you can't do that. And they stopped it. So it's not everything that the executive comes up with that they can support. No.
Ismail, now looking in terms of bills, the bills passed, the law made, the synergy between the executive and the legislature in the last 4 years. Now, when you look at the quantum of bills passed that did not end up being laws, because that's a different ballgame. Yeah. Mr. President actually rejected a large number, some of those bills that went back to the House. But in terms of the bills that was passed, how hardworking was this 8th Assembly?
Well, I think to the extent that so far in the history of our legislature, the 8th Assembly, both the Senate and the House, in terms of passage of bills, in terms of dealing with petitions, they have recorded the highest. I think so far, the 5th Assembly had passed 129 bills. The 6th Assembly passed 72. The 7th Assembly passed 128. So far, the 8th Senate had passed about over 200 bills.
Under Bukola Saraki.
Under Bukola Saraki. Same with the House of Representatives. You know, so if you are talking about, if you are measuring the performance of the National Assembly, we must be specific on what we are looking at. Now, if we are looking at the forcing relationship, like Mr. Babajide said, for me, I will blame it on Mr. President, because we had a similar scenario in the 7th Assembly when Tambwa emerged. And as soon as Tambwa emerged, some of us advised that, look, this man has emerged. against your wish, against the wish of the party, embrace him. Find a way of working, together with him to achieve the goals and objectives of the government. But Jonathan mismanaged that opportunity, and he was enjoying relative peace when Senator Joy Modi was still the special advisor on National Assembly matters. But as soon as they removed her, the members went haywire. That is to tell you that sometimes if you have a mature advisor on National Assembly matters, it can help moderate the views and activities of the government. But you see, the mistake we make most times, when we say lobby lawmakers, an average Nigerian would think that we are saying give them money. No, no. Lobbying does not entail giving money. Engage them. Talk to them. But Itainan could not do that work effectively because Itainan ab initio was seen as part of the crisis between the leadership of the National Assembly and the executive.
How?
Well, Itainan was part of those who petitioned, it was part of those, the group that petitioned against the emergence of Saraki's leadership, alleging that they forged the house rule. As a matter of fact, he gave witness against the. So when already the Saraki leadership see him as an enemy.
Okay, so he couldn't have been a bridge builder.
He couldn't have done that. He couldn't have done that. And the president now is emphasizing that he wants a better Ninth Assembly. And I ask, what role is he playing to ensure that? Because, look, it is the way you prepare your bed
that
you lay on it. So far, I have not seen Mr. President, I have not seen him taking any concrete step to ensure. Concrete step to ensure that he has a stable Ninth Assembly. I stand to be corrected.
Sam.
Yeah, I think it's all said. For those of us who have studied Mr. President's temperament, you could summarize it in just one word. Brutal. Mr. President can be brutally frank. I've looked deeply at some of the statements, credited to him, and it appeared like a headmaster addressing his students, And I think that is the issue that a lot of people have with Mr. President. Oftentimes, he doesn't seem to be politically correct. But that is him. You must concede to him, a man who is reputable. Yeah, that's his style, And so what we expect, going forward is engagement, like has been said. He needs to be actively involved. You can't fold your arms and say, let things play out. It's good that the leadership of the ruling party, unlike what played out, under the Eighth Assembly, is showing a lot more concern, getting involved. There's a lot of horse trading, going on, and I think that would help the party, to a great extent. But one expects Mr. President to play, to be a lot more visible, in these negotiations, in this horse trading that is going on. He probably is doing that, behind the scene. But we wait to see how that, plays out at the end of the day. June is just by the corner. We hope that the party is going to take advantage of its, numerical advantage, in the forthcoming assembly.
Julie, at a point in time, they were all part of the APC, both Senate and House of Representatives. Later, Bukola Saraki moved, Yakubu Dogara moved. And when you want to see that relationship, there wasn't any difference between when Bukola Saraki was in APC and when he moved to PDP in terms of relationship with the executive.
The truth is, for Dogara, in the beginning, he had a good relationship with the president because, unlike Bukola Saraki, he decided to do the bidding of the party. The party wanted certain people as principal officers of the House of Reps, and he obliged them. That was how people like Dogwa and the rest of them, even the man from Surulere, Bajabiamila, that was how they were able to become principal officers. So the party was happy with that. The president was happy, you know. So, and he was now going to the National Assembly.
Sorry, let me hold your thought a little bit. Let me pick this call from Rahim. Rahim is calling us from Oshobo. Osun State, Oshobo. Thank you for joining us, Rahim.
Yeah, thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, I want to contribute.
Okay, go ahead with your contribution.
In connection with what you said of the Senate president. Initially, the Senate president had an ambition to become president. That is a fact. Even if you watch the interview of Donio Kupe before PDP primaries, before they defected to the PDP, he said the contest was going to be between Buhari and Saraki. That was his comment then. He had an ambition. That was why the first the relationship.
Is that wrong? Is there anything wrong with his ambition to become the president of Nigeria?
It was very bad to become president.
Thank you, Rahim. People don't want anything that has to do with...
No, there are people, you see, some of our people can't stand the president being challenged in any way. Even if you are fiercely loyal to the president, if you say, Mr. President, this is wrong, they will abuse you. We are used to it.
So what is wrong with...
Because even...
Bukola Saraki aspiring to become the president of Nigeria.
What we are talking about is the relationship between him and between them and the president. And we are saying, look, Dogara initially enjoyed a chummy relationship with the president after he decided to do the bidding of his party and brought in those people that the party wanted as principal officers. He brought them in. He sacrificed those who used to be there. Bukola too did that much later. When people like
Ndume was sacrificed for Ahmed Lawan.
All of this was geared towards...
That's part of the grass of Ndume now.
Enjoying, all of this was geared towards ensuring that there is a kind of harmonious relationship between the executive and the legislature. You know, we've always wondered why, in spite of having the majority, the APC members in the National Assembly, especially the Senate, were acting more or less like the opposition.
But Jide, don't forget.
And I mentioned instances when, even when it comes to calling out the president, the first set of lawmakers that would talk would be APC members. You know, the dinos of this world and all that. That was long before the defections.
But don't forget, the APC people, they were also very angry that maybe for the first time since 1999, the seat of the deputy Senate president, that they felt a sense of entitlement, that Bukola traded it to the opposition party.
You see, he wanted to win the election. And what people fail to realize is that from 1999 and now, there was no time that in terms of people who won election into the Senate, that it was that close between the APC and PDP. It was close. It was close to the point that you needed to negotiate with the rival party.
To get anything.
The margin was not wide.
True, yes.
So he knew that, look, the best thing for him to do was to work with those people. Even now, let me tell you, even now, Lawan and Co know. They know that they must
65 cannot get there.
They must work with the
PDP
and that
guys.
will involve maybe making some concessions. Okay, I'll give you this. You know that Dogara gave some of the best committees chairmanship to the PDP. Petroleum downstream and the you know. It was not for a reason, because they too now decided to give block votes. So that was why he negotiated that. And even now, PDP members too are trying to say, we'll work for you, but there are certain things that you must concede.
It's fine, your last thing on this.
Well, to follow up on what Mr. Babajide said, for me, when they talk about trading off, I see it as politics. Politics because during the Shagari regime, we had something of that nature. The only difference was that it was concretized between the parties, the ruling party and the opposition. But this one, it was individual. But let me say something here today, that as somebody who was very close to those who played that game in 2015, the first person who mooted the idea of running with a PDP senator as deputy senate president was George Akume, who was initially being prompted to run for senate president.
Benue.
He was the first person. Now, and looking at the Senate leadership matter too, you can find out too from others. Ndume and Ahmed Lawa were asked to go into a contest. In fact, 4 of them were interested in the position. And the stakeholders from the Northeast now decided that, okay, let us vote. Saki actually wanted Goji, who is his friend. But at some point, Goji stepped down from Ndume. And at the election, Lawa stayed away from the election. But his supporter, Nazif Suleiman, was present. So he voted for Ahmed Lawa. So they eventually counted 2 votes for Ahmed Lawa. And that was how Ndume emerged as
the majority leader. Okay.
And so for APC to avoid what happened in 2015, except they have one person who is going to contest, and it is impossible.
They said it yesterday. Still to come, emotions as activists, others celebrate Leah Sharibu's 16th birthday as Burate demands greater vigilance, change in tactics over killing of soldiers in Borno State. Stay with us after this timeout. We'll be right back. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Journalist Hangout. We're reaching you live from Television Continental. Abducted but not forgotten is the best way to describe the predicament of Leah Sharibu. It has been more than 400 days for Leah Sharibu in the hands of her abductors. The Boko Haram insurgents, while our whereabouts remains a mystery, the world remembers her still. So it was outpouring of emotions as people from across the globe celebrated her 16th birthday on Tuesday, the 14th of May. Activists, religious organizations, and others staged various events in her honor. Our story is a sad one. It's a reminder of security landmines in our march to peace as a country. To tackle this, the Chief of Army Staff, that's Lieutenant General Tukur Buratai, has demanded a greater vigilance and change in tactics to stop the killing of Nigerian soldiers, especially in Borno State. The Army Chief said the death of 3 military personnel in Northeast States on Monday should be a wake-up call for the Army to re-strategize and defeat terrorism. Sam, let me start from you. See, before we go to Leah, the Chief of Army Staff, they are always talking about changing strategy, and some Nigerians will say change in personnel is more important than change in strategy right time, if the Chief of Army Staff is talking about changing strategy.
Yeah, you got it right. You know, the army hierarchy is beginning to sound like a broken record. Keep repeating themselves about change. Nigerians want to see strategy, you know, play out, not just mounting it. We've had so much in the last couple of years about what needs to be done. It's even more sickening that each time the military wants to go to war, they first tell their opponents that, look, this is what we want to do. And I think that is very disturbing. So strategy demands a lot more. It demands a lot more in the sense that planning is key, coordination, and the rest of it. So Nigerians want to see results, not all the talk. The army should walk the talk, as it were, and do less, you know, of noise making. A lot has been committed by way of resources, no doubt about it. A lot of money has been sunk into it, and I know, you know, as a stakeholder in the media industry, that almost all that the military has asked for, they've gotten substantial part of it. But I think that what is missing and what is giving us a lot of challenge is that we don't have synergy between the different, military formations, if you permit, between the Air Force, the Army, the Navy, and the rest of them. There's been this talk about these arms of our military, fighting their separate wars. We want to see a lot of synergy, going into it. I don't want to believe that the rumor out there is just mere rumor, that everybody is on his own trying to impress. Nigerians want to see a better coordination between the Air Force, between the Army, and the rest of them that are prosecuting, the war in the Northeast and across the entire length and breadth of, northern Nigeria. Ayo, what hurts me is that each time we settle down here to discuss the challenges that we have, as it concerns insurgency in northern Nigeria, we talk about our soldiers being killed. These are people's parents, and it hurts. We must find answers to these killings. It's about our humanity. Each time a soul is lost, it's a whole lot, and we need to appreciate that a lot goes into the training of this personnel. So we can't continue to lose them to terrorists, to bandits all over the place. It's tough for parents, it's tough for families to bear. And for Nigerians, it's really hurting us. The country is bleeding. Sometimes you feel that we're inching towards a failed state because it does seem that nobody's in control. If it's not in Borno, it's in Katsina, it's in Zamfara, it's in Sokoto. I think there is need for better coordination. If there are resources required for this, let them push for it. And I want to believe that our lawmakers and the executive are willing to support the battle against insurgency in northern Nigeria.
Babajide, Leah, I'm sure if Mr. President had a choice, he would have gotten that girl and would have gotten that girl, before this time. And a lot of people tend to even put a coloration to it that if, like he did rescue the Saudi Arabia, the girl in Saudi Arabia and everything, and even the Christian Association of Nigeria came out to say, okay, use this alacrity in getting Leah Sharibu out. Do you think this is a fair comparison?
No, it makes no sense to make such comparisons. The way some Nigerians argue, you'll be wondering if they went to school or that they have the ability to perceive things the right way. In the case of the girl that went to Saudi Arabia, the government had to deal with sensible people.
Government to government.
Yes.
I like that word.
You are now, these ones are terrorists whose actions rational people can not explain. Because look at what they're talking about. Oh, we don't want the Constitution. Forget about the Constitution. Forget about Western education. And all that.
As in their demands, things that...
So are those, when people reason like that, and their ideas are steeped in 13th century realities. I don't want to say because 13th century strain of Islam, because that would not even be fair on decent people who are adherents to this religion. 13th century realities they want to replicate in today's world. It's just not possible.
Even a body like the Christian Association of Nigeria.
Possible. Yes, they can demand that the president should do whatever it takes to rescue her. But don't compare that girl's matter. That girl, as I said the other day, Aisha, what's the girl's name again? She's very lucky. Zainab was very lucky.
Very lucky.
Because, look, if it was probably cocaine that they found on her, because it was tramadol. Tramadol is not banned as a drug. The only thing is that they said she had, what they found on her was higher than the quantity permitted. You know? So that's just the thing. So in a way, the offense was not as grievous as finding cocaine in your bag.
That one is non-negotiable.
That one, for a lot, they will have killed a lot of people without asking the question whether, how did they get there? And thankfully, she had all the facts that she could bring forward. And in spite of that, she was there for 4 months. In spite of that, she was in their hands for 4 months, in their prison. So let's even leave the matter of the Kano girl who has, Lucky Kano girl who has attained her freedom. In the case of Leah, the president, they know that this faction of Boko Haram knows that this is the best price in their hands currently. This is the biggest price in their hands currently. So they are doing their best to get the Nigerian government to get into a kind of trade with them, for which they will not regret. And the president said some time ago that the next time that we have to negotiate with Boko Haram, that the terms will be different. So, because every time you negotiate with them and they say, oh, we have prisoners in so-so prisons, go and release them. Those are their best bomb makers. They will go and release them. And then you also give them money. Although nobody will confess to you that money. Yes. That they too will not pass money to them directly. It is through third parties that these things get done by countries. You know? So now, every time you do that, you strengthen the enemy. So it's a choice. If the president can negotiate with them and ensure that what we lose in exchange for the freedom of this girl is minimal, I'm sure he will be happy to do that. To do that immediately. But people shouldn't expect that, oh, if they say, oh, yeah, go and bring 13 billion from the Nigerian, from the CBN, you just go and bring simply like that. No. Or they say, oh, all of our people that you are detaining in Maiduguri, release all of them. People don't get into such negotiations. They say, the Americans will say, we shall never fail to negotiate, but we shall never negotiate to fail. So you have to be in a position of strength. That is what the government is trying to do. I don't think that the president has been laid back about this matter. If he could secure the release of a lot of other girls, a lot of those girls too, majority of them were Christians as well. Yeah. The first and second set of Boko Haram, of Chibok girls that were released, they were largely Christians. Okay. You know? So I think we should not bring up religious sentiments into this. Let's just continue to encourage the government to negotiate and get this girl out.
Mukhtar is calling us from Ghana.
From Kano.
Kano. Mukhtar, sorry. Calling from Kano.
Yes.
How are my people?
How, Mr. Jide, how are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you, Mr. Jide.
You.
The issue of security in Nigeria between the executives, the legislators, and the military, I think there is some lacuna. There is some lacuna between them. Because lack of synergy between the security agencies and within the military themselves, there must be clean up. Because there is no sincerity or purpose. Mr. Jide, if you remember in 1981, one Major Senior was in Kano, he struck in Kano. That Inspector General of Police, Sunday Ade, it was alone. He was alone with his people. There was no military presence. And within 1 week, he conquered that terrorist. And during Shagari regime, we had it very peaceful atmosphere in Kano. So this also, I'm telling you, within the military, there must be a cleanup. Within the executives, those responsible ministers they are not doing their job. I think the president should drop them and pick up serious people that will help him conquer this war. And
thank you, Mukhtar. Thank you for your contribution from Kano, Mukhtar. Now, Ismail, it became more worrisome, and this girl, she's a Christian, and they were asking her they wanted her to convert to Islam, and she's saying no. And from our own Bible, blessed are those that are persecuted for righteousness' sake, for theirs is the kingdom of God. And it becomes worrisome when the people are saying that, look, Mr. President, you must get it, especially Christian organizations. Mr. President, you must get this girl. Pastors are saying, please get this girl.
Well, the truth is this. It is unfortunate that in our country, most often we look at issues from either religious perspective or from ethnic point of view. And you see, the moment we introduce those two sentiments, we lose the whole essence of whatever struggle we are embarking on. At the risk of repeating what Mr. Bajide said, don't forget that as soon as this government came in, they made effort, established contact with these guys. And as at that time, they had not been there were not too many factions within the group as we have today. And so it was even very easy. It was a lot easier to know those you are talking to. But this, as we speak now, the factions have increased. And just like, he said earlier, the truth is, at every point they negotiate, they get their commanders who are in prison release, and they also get money. And it is this money they use to buy weapons. Now, it's unfortunate that Lee is a Christian, but I tell you that apart from Lee, there are several other Christians that are with these people. There are several of them. There are several of them. There are several of them who were abducted before Lee's case. Lee's case happened in Yobe. It's it's Yobe. Dapchi, sorry. Yeah, it's in Yobe State. But before Lee, there are other Christians who are still with these people. Some even market women. Some were even market women that they seized. So I think I will advise very strongly that Christian religious bodies not only can now, because sometimes you see Islamic religious bodies also go overboard on issues that ordinarily should be looked at on their So I will urge them to please always tamper the weddings. They should restrain themselves and tamper the weddings they realize, because you see, the moment we make it look religious, the man we have as president is one man that once he makes us admire about something, you can hardly change him. And if he's doing his best to get this girl, and you now begin to impute a religious this thing, he can please, he can please the man. So I will recommend, like Mutar said, that rather than tell us about new strategy, let somebody else come and give us the strategy, on how to defeat these people.
I don't know.
Sam, looking at the plight of this girl, it's so worrisome that she's 16 and she has been there, and her parents, as of yesterday, I still saw the father and the mother, they are still begging the federal government to try and get this girl. And don't forget that we still have the Chibok girls, some of the Chibok girls still in.
At least 80 of them.
We can only imagine the trauma for Leah. And that's assuming. I don't want to begin to paint a very extreme picture. We want to assume that she's still alive. We pray that she's still alive. If she is, one can only begin to imagine the trauma, the pain of being held hostage against her will. And what makes it even worse is that she's been with these people in the last, we're inching probably towards 2 years, over 400 and something days, and she's supposed to be in school. She's lost those number of years So the captors, ordinarily, probably by now, she ought to be
This is
out
her
of school.
second body in their hands.
Yeah, in their hands. She should be out pursuing.
Abi? She should be in like SS3
yeah,
or
yes,
to
even out
finish
of school.
WAEC.
And that is what saddens me really. We've talked about the challenges that the Nigerian girl child faces, and I think she's beginning to serve as a ready example of the challenge facing the Nigerian girl child. Across the entire North, it's a huge problem. For her parents, it's been almost 2 years of serious pain. Again, like I said, we can only imagine what that family is going through.
They confirmed that she's alive, and they're advising the government to make the conditions given to them.
That's Boko Haram.
Yes, before the girl can be freed. So we don't know what those conditions are.
But we have an idea that
it will involve money, it will involve release of their men. You know them.
it could be counterproductive.
Yeah, she's like a joker, exactly.
Joker in the hands.
Probably the last joker for now.
Yeah.
And the problem is the two camps, the two factions are very, very active now. So anyone who wants to negotiate with them will be really scared because the rate at which both camps, both factions are killing our soldiers is very disturbing. So you can imagine maybe giving them money now and further making them even stronger.
Empowering them.
If they can be this active.
Taking on military formations.
Yeah.
All right, we quickly go on this break. When we come back, we'll talk more. It's still Journalist Hangouts. We'll be right back.
It's an international terrorism.
Welcome back. That Nigeria languishes in want and wastes in the midst of abundance is no longer debatable. What is the subject of arguments is when the trend will be reversed. Recent development is also not encouraging at all. Despite increase in local production of palm oil, the country's imports from Malaysia, which is the global top producer, rose by 57% in the first quarter of 2019. This is according to the data from the Malaysian Palm Oil Council and corroborated by financial statement of Nigeria's second largest palm oil producer, Okomu Oil. The figures show that crude palm oil imports from Malaysia increased from 47,974 metric tons in the first quarter of 2018 to 112,480 metric tons in the first 3 months of this year. Judy, there's fire on the mountain.
You know, it was in 2012 that I first discovered that Malaysia was already exporting processed palm oil to Nigeria in 2012. And I found it difficult to believe that a country that came to Nigeria to collect its first palm seedlings has now become not just the second highest producer of palm oil after Indonesia, is now sending processed palm oil to our country. It's something that we should be ashamed of, and Nigerian leaders have really messed up our country because we were #1 before. Many cash crops that made Nigeria popular, that made Nigeria rich, from which some of the iconic buildings that you see in this country today were built. We no longer care about, we left agriculture to suffer. Whereas, even if we look around us, look at a country like Kenya. Kenya is the #1 exporter of tea. Not the #1 grower of tea, because the big growers prefer to sell within their country and all. But Kenya is the #1 exporter. Kenya exported 155 million kilograms of tea to Pakistan last year alone. And they make a lot of money.
And we have it in Taraba.
And we have tea in Taraba. But our country does not even have a tea policy. We are just there, we don't care. We are supposed to develop what we have and turn ourselves to world beaters in that category. But we are not interested. Look at Ecuador. Ecuador makes, on the average, $3.2 billion from selling bananas to the world.
Banana?
Yes, just bananas. And the truth is, this palm oil, as you see palm oil, the way we look at it like something not important, it is the most important vegetable oil in the world. And a lot of things are produced with it. If I wrote down some of what, like lipstick, instant noodles, shampoo, detergent, soap, chocolates, cookies are made from palm oil. So it will always be in demand. But look at us as a country. We are not producing enough. We are now even importing what we have the capacity to produce sufficiently.
I'm not just organized.
Palm oil grows in rainforests. We have rainforests in abundance. We can grow palm oil in the whole of the southeast, in the whole of the Niger Delta. Well, look at us. We just don't care. Everybody is dependent on that, on oil.
Ismail?
So, you know, when I saw it, I quickly did a check to be very sure if the data that was being read out was, correct. And I was stunned when I got to read that they had to import because what we even have is less competitive to what is coming in. And part of the reason, they gave in that report was high cost of production, which we know is possible, infrastructure gaps, The thing is, if, for example, I will require 20,000 naira to produce this cup here because there's no power, and it will cost me just 7 naira to bring it in, my brother.
I think that's what is happening to rice.
That is what is happening. So the thing is, you see, most times we mouth our policies, but
We are not interested in
when it comes into implementing, you don't hear anything.
And the oil thing is so easy. Everybody goes at the end of the month, you go to Abuja, you collect money.
You don't hear anything. I don't know if it's possible for this oil to dry up one day. Maybe it will force us to, to put on our thinking caps.
We have so much inefficiencies in the system. But beyond that, the question that I have often asked is, do we even have defined for ourselves as a country any vision that we can really, hold on to? I think that is what is principally missing across almost every sector. Okay, what we have had our leaders do is to try to impress oftentimes. Those inefficiencies continue to stare us in the face. What is being done to address those inefficiencies? You can hardly lay hands on any of them. People talk about smart goals. For those of us who are watching, the agri sector, you want to ask yourself, what smart goals, have we set, for ourselves? Nothing. Absolutely nothing that you can, we have had situations where the minister has come out to make claims that he can't possibly, defend, which is very sad. I read, part of this report, and you have the likes of Ukomo, the likes of Presco, declaring losses. What do you expect? It's very, very shameful.
Very shameful.
Because the products are not competitive.
On the final note, the same thing is happening in other sectors. This cost of production, tomato paste, we have tomato.
We have a very, very extensive tomato belt, yet we cannot produce tomato paste in abundance. If you go to Kano today, when we were growing up, the granite pyramids, were iconic. Everyone likes granite pyramids and all that. Nigeria, in fact, the northern Nigeria was defined by those granite pyramids.
Yeah.
The place where they used to stack those groundnut pyramids, I mean, those groundnut bags, and make pyramids out of them in Kano. It's called filling one canal. That is where all these people who wash clothes for a fee, that is where they wash their clothes. The pyramids have disappeared. Nobody.
No trace.
And some time ago, the commissioner for Agric in Kano said, we are trying to bring back the pyramids. Before you can bring back the pyramids, the production, the level of production must go up. Those who have abandoned the farms must show a willingness to return. Because Awolowo developed Lagos with farm produce. Cocoa house, all of this, all those, the GRA, the rail system that I introduced, it was with farm produce. And in those days, we were making good money. Everybody left the farm just because oil has come. Now, people are moving away from fossil fuels. By the time it dawns on us that we have been irresponsible, I hope that
it will not be too late. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Babajide Kolade Otojun. Ismail Omikudo, thank you for coming. And Sam Ibemere, thank you. And that's our offering today. Join us tomorrow for another episode of the program. You can watch Journalist Hangout on our platforms showing on the screen. We're also on YouTube, youtube.com/TVC News Nigeria. Our feedback channel is Journalist Hangout at tvcnews.tv. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. Bye for now, and God bless Nigeria.